Once more, came across the concept that supports the teaching of non-duality. And the analogy is dealing with the substance of clay and how it is the foundation of all reality when you consider bowls, pots, saucers that are made out of clay. And they use this analogy to describe that the pots and the saucers and things made out of clay did not exist. Then they were created out of the substance of clay, and over time they deteriorated and became back into clay. But the clay is always clay, regardless of what form it takes. And they compare the pot to the Atman and the clay to Brahman, and that all things are Brahman, and that the pots and the saucers and the cups are temporary manifestations of clay. And in fact, they can be assumed to be illusory because they don't exist at some point. They do exist from the foundation of clay, and then they go back to nothing. This is a teaching that is communicating and understanding multidimensional reality, but never transcending two-dimensional reality, and thus concluding erroneously a false understanding. And in fact, the whole concept is 180 degrees out of whack, completely upside down and backwards. You know that one way I can point this out is if you think in terms of two-dimensionality and you have a maze with walls and everything, and then a two-dimensional being within there, and they're going through the maze, since they're two-dimensional, there is no such thing as up or down, and they can't even conceive of the concept of up or down. They can only see forward, backwards, and as they turn 360 degrees, they can turn, but they can't see anything up or down because they have absolutely no thickness to them. But if you are a third-dimensional individual looking down, you can see on the other side of the wall, you can see where they used to be, you can see where they're supposed to go. But the problem is, if you communicate with a two-dimensional being, you can only communicate in two-dimensional concepts, because you can't say to them, well, if you could look from the top down like I am looking, you can see over the what you call a barrier or a wall. I see on the other side of it, and I can see the whole, the entire structure of it. I can see down from the top. But you can't say top and you can't say look up, because there are no words in the two-dimensional reality to define up or down. And so with that concept, what I'm trying to express is the teaching of the clay and the pot and Advaita and the Atman and Brahman and all of this stuff, literally for thousands of years, it has never been taught correctly. And the reason it's never been taught correctly is because literally 100% of people that are scholars, if you will, are two-dimensional people trying to comprehend what someone that was three-dimensional talking to them. That's why they use the the term Advaita, and they use Vedanta to support Advaita. And everyone teaches that it is non-duality. And the reason they teach non-duality is because they're never transcending two-dimensional reality. The cup and the saucer are all within the same plane of existence. And then when the cup or the saucer is gone, remaining is the clay. And when it comes into existence, it's there. But they're only comparing this two-dimensional reality. The teachers of non-duality are never transcending to another dimension to see what the original authors that penned the term Advaita are trying to express to you. And when Buddha says wake up, and when Jesus said to wake up, that didn't mean to just look around or look the other direction. It is an analogy to looking up or looking down, but that concept is impossible to understand in your current condition. And so they use the words wake up. So the reality is, they talk about the Atman is the bull, and that it has no reality because when it disappears, it's the clay. But the clay and saucer are both physical. But the reality is, the bowl is not in the same dimension of reality. The bowl isn't, the teachers miss the entire concept of the pot. The pot is a concept that originates in the thought or the mind of an individual that goes, okay, I need to form something to carry something, and then the idea which has no physicality, the idea uses clay to create the pot, okay? But the idea is what created the pot. The idea is separate from the clay. It is separate from the pot. The idea is an idea. It is in a different dimension than the physical two-dimensional pot and clay. The third-dimensional reality is the idea that comes out of the essence of the individual that is functioning on a different plane of existence. And that's what they're talking about initially. And that is, the Atman is not the pot. The Atman is within the pot, but it isn't the pot. The Atman is the idea that created the pot. Does that make sense? The idea that created the pot is the Atman. And then when the pot is gone, the Atman still exists, because the Atman can take any form. It can be anything. It doesn't matter, because the Atman is the idea that created the pot in the first place. But that's a different dimensionality. And the teachers of non-duality cannot transcend their two-dimensional reality to understand what the original authors were talking about. You have to be an enlightened master before you can even start to comprehend the concept of Advaita. So there is duality. That is the concept of the pot, which is the idea, which is the Atman, and it is separate from everything else. Because everything else, the clay, the gold, it doesn't matter what it is. Yes, that is Brahman. But the idea is not Brahman. The idea is the duality of yourself. Another concept that goes right along with this is the concept of, if you're a Christian, you are aware that these are what we would call the end days. If you are from the belief system of Eastern philosophy or Hindu, then you are thinking that this is the Kali Yuga period. And both concepts, the Kali Yuga and the end days, are considered the most evil or the darkest or the least enlightened. And yet, the people that believe non-duality are going on the basis that there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of teachers that are enlightened and teaching about non-duality, and it's easy to understand. You just need to understand the concept of clay and pot and this sort of thing. And so somehow you have to adopt this this cognitive dissonance that the truth is everywhere. It's abundant. It's on YouTube. It's in books and magazines, and you can go to the bookstore and every guru and every yogi and everybody everywhere is teaching the same concept. There are endless supplies of people on YouTube teaching about non-duality, but there is literally no one teaching you what I'm teaching you. But for some reason, you agree that it's the Kali Yuga, and you agree that these are the end days, and you agree that the teachings of these indicate that truth is very, almost completely absent during these periods of time, but yet you are believing one of the most common belief systems and one of the most commonly taught concepts as though that is reflective of what you would refer to as enlightenment or the absolute and utter truth. But how is that possible? You can believe these two contrasting realities. It's either one or the other. Either this isn't the Kali Yuga and truth is everywhere, and that makes me wrong, or this is the Kali Yuga, truth cannot be found, and that I am right in what I'm trying to teach you. I don't want anything from anyone. I'm just trying to combat the ignorance that runs rampant on the planet Earth at this particular time. That non-duality is a corrupt teaching that is absolutely upside down and wrong, and that you're never going to understand what I'm talking about if you maintain the concept of two-dimensionality and you refuse to even consider the possibility that there is another dimension that I'm communicating to you from. And if you don't even consider that, and you don't believe that what I'm telling you is from a dimension that you're not interacting with right now, then everything I'm telling you is sounding absolutely bizarre. But I post my stuff on YouTube and you try to find it. It's literally impossible. And that's because during the Kali Yuga period and the end days and stuff, people like me and what I teach are done away with. It's like it's almost like magic that it's destroyed and you can't find it. I know that sounds crackpot, but it's absolutely true. Anyways, I appreciate you watching this, and I really hope that somewhere, somehow, someone wakes up and understands what the heck I'm talking about. I know that most people that hear what I'm talking about roll their eyes, and they typically respond not kindly, let's put it that way, not in a loving fashion. And what I offer you is from my heart. It is truly given without any desire for anything in return, other than if you should ever believe what I'm telling you. I appreciate friendship to the ends of eternity. Anyways, thank you very much for watching.